Hello, I welcome you to this most important episode of our ICAN on AIR program. Today, we will examine the subject, Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria, the Nigerian accountant, and yes, we should. Following the spate of financial scandals and the global financial crisis implicating accountants and accounting practice, the global accounting community responded through the International Financial Reporting Standards, IFRS for short. Correspondingly, there has been a raft of national corporate initiatives and legislations to design, well designed to evolve efficient professional accounting practice, especially in processing of financial information and related financial reports. This naturally is the contextual genesis, indeed the original inputs that came into the Nigerian space through Act 6 of 2011. I'm speaking of none other than the Financial Reporting Council Act. Also, joining me to delve deeper insights for a better understanding of this subject is Ambassador Shuaibu Ahmed FCA, the Executive Secretary of Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria. He was a co-founder of Ahmed Zakari & Co., an indigenous audit and business advisory firm based in Kano, which he co-founded in 1997 with Malam Zakari Ismaila, FCA, a former ICAN president. And wait for this. As the first ambassador extraordinary and plenipotentiary of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to the state of Qatar from 2012 to 2016, he served with distinction and was decorated with the highest diplomatic honor of the Sash of Merit by the state of Qatar. More will be unveiled on this our special guest very shortly. Also, on this program, we will be giving you some bits of tidbits of diary of events of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, a few adverts. So please stay connected. We will be back with you shortly. Yes. Welcome, Ambassador Shuaibu Ahmed FCA. And let me say glowingly, as a professional accountant, so we are professional accountants together, that sash of merit that you are bearing, first on behalf of Nigeria and the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, goes a long way to say, you are most welcome, Ambassador, to our program today.
Thank you so much, Akin, for having me on ICAN on Air. Thank you.
Real pleasure. And then we just fire ahead. Oh, the subject, Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria, where you serving as the executive secretary, the chief samurai of that body. And then, of course, the rest of us, accountants and those aspiring to be accountants, because I know quite a number of students will be here. I like to set a roots foundation, so speak, to our subject today and frame it and ask you pointedly, can you tell our online audience about the Federal Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria or the Federal Republic of Nigeria and its statutory mandate as enshrined in that Enabling Act 6 of 2011?
Thank you so much, Akin. As you rightly pointed out, the Financial Reporting Council was established by the FRC Act of 2011. Uh, and we need to know and understand that the FRC is actually um, a follow-up to the old Nigerian Accounting Standards Board. ICAN, our institute, had established the Nigerian Accounting Standards Board and has actually funded and maintained it for a number of years. The government in 2011 felt that it was time that the government steps in, and therefore they enacted the FIC Act and brought an end the Nigerian Accounting Standards Board. The government, in its wisdom, placed the FRC under the ambit of the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, and for a number of reasons. Because the government at that time felt that the mandate of the FRC should be to promote trade and investment by ensuring high standards of financial reporting and corporate governance in order to protect investors and other stakeholder interests. So you can see from this that the government was more focused on promoting trade and investment. It was more focused on protecting investors and other stakeholder interests. If you allow me, I can just go in to say exactly what are the functions of the Financial Reporting Council. I'll just take a few of them. The first one, which is the key, is to develop, publish, monitor, and enforce accounting, auditing, financial reporting, valuation, actuarial, and corporate governance standards to be observed by public interest entities in Nigeria. It may interest you to know that public interest entities was defined by the Act as government. So the government was the first to be mentioned in the Act. Government institutions, listed companies, and all other companies that routinely file returns with other regulatory agencies apart from the Corporate Affairs Commission and the Federal Inland Revenue Service. So basically, FRC covers both the private and the public sector. And the second main function is to maintain a register of all professionals that have anything to do with financial reporting. So not just accountants, okay? But if you have a valuer who has done evaluation service and part of that service is going to go into the financial report, then he has to register with the Financial Reporting Council, as well as directors of companies and entities. Okay. The third function is to give guidance on issues relating to financial reporting and corporate governance to professional, institutional, and regulatory bodies. What that means is that Financial Reporting Council is the apex regulatory institution as far as financial reporting and corporate governance matters are concerned in this country. So these are some of the three key functions of the Financial Reporting Council.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Ahmed. I like how you set the tone and that foundation. Oh, yes, set up to enhance the corporate reporting environment in Nigeria, to look at stewardship in such a way and manner that will be, like we say in our language, true and fair, and so that they can enjoy the convenience of both the foreign and local investors. I'd like to ask you, since your assumption of office, what will be your assessment of the state of this stewardship, corporate governance, local and foreign investors coming in? And this, do you really think that this current corporate reporting state, whatever it is that you are going to tell us based on what you found since you came into office, can inspire public confidence?
Thank you so much, Akin. I actually assumed duty on the 20th of May last year, 2021. So basically, I would say that I'm about 8 months old on the seat. And I can say, within this period of 8 months, I've seen quite a number of financial statements, financial reports. I can tell you that at least I've seen over 700 from the private sector, and I've also seen over 150 from public sector institutions. And I can say with confidence that the quality of the financial reports that I've seen, I can say that they are quite good and excellent. They are world standard, and for those in the private sector, they are IFRS compliant. Um, yes, you may say that you may have quite a number of deviations from the actual implementation of those IFRS standards. But give and take, to a large extent, I would say Nigeria has done extremely well in terms of implementation of IFRS, and I can be bold to say that probably in Africa we should be either first or second in terms of full implementation of IFRS. So give and take, I would say that we stand quite high.
That is quite that is quite reassuring to hear from your chief samurai. In the short space of time that you have come, you've seen quite a lot of reports that ranks Nigeria quite well. But then, my dear ambassador, I know the world is moving towards sustainability reports, and indeed, the sustainability standards, what has been said to drive the issuance of sustainability reporting. I will ask you two questions surrounding that. One, what role is Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria playing in this evolving scenario? And more importantly, how will this development impact the standard setting processes?
Thank you so much, Aikin. As you said, sustainability reporting is a topical issue globally across the world. People are talking about environmental, social, and governance issues, climate change, and international investors are really concerned, seriously concerned about the issue of assessment of those sustainability um, related risk. And therefore, it's something that is also of concern to us in Nigeria. And I think we've taken quite a bit of steps in that direction. But let me start internationally with international developments. Towards the end of last year, I think sometime in November, the International Financial Reporting Standard Foundation, IFRS Foundation, in their wisdom, established the International Sustainability Standards Board, which is an amalgamation of quite a number of other institutions in sustainability reporting environment. So, so right now we have what I would say one standard setting body uh, in the area of sustainability reporting, but it's quite early in their establishment. They were set up, as I said, sometime in November last year, and so they are still trying to get their feet off the ground. Um, and the expectation is that once they take off, that we should be able to start seeing um, them issuing sustainability standards that corporate institutions and also government institutions are supposed to report upon. Um, One of the concerns that we have as regulators and standard setters is the fact that without those standards being put in place, we find that yes, corporate entities have already started reporting on sustainability, but there's no um, there's no framework or guideline for them to follow. So entities are reporting under different frameworks, under different templates. So the issue of comparability is becoming an issue, and the coming on board of this International Sustainability Standards Board, I think, is a welcome development because it's now going to now be able to come up with standards that will be followed globally by those jurisdictions, those countries that have subscribed to that. In Nigeria, the FRC is also putting in place um, certain steps, taking certain steps to ensure that we first align into that global undertaking. And secondly, without even waiting for them, what can we do? So we've started having quite a number of um, training and capacity building in terms of sustainability reporting. We started working with the ICAN Integrated Reporting Committee to see what can we do, whether we can even come up with some kind of um, um, framework or template that companies can start following before, because the standard setting process takes quite a bit of time. Okay, it's not something that probably, I'm sure I think you know, that it takes quite a bit of time to get even one standard out because the processes that you have to go through, you have to issue an exposure draft, you have to invite comments, and then after that, you sit down, harmonize those comments before you now are able to come up with a standard. So rather than wait for that to happen, the FRC, in collaboration with ICANN and also the Integrated Reporting Committee, were trying to work and see whether we can come up with some kind of temporary framework that entities in Nigeria will be asked to follow, pending the coming on board of uh, those global standards that might be issued by the ISSB.
Oh, quite sonorous to the ears, my dear ambassador, to see those work in progress and that we've not been static. But dear ambassador, some people have argued,
Yeah.
and I have read quite a number of analysts that says that it's only capital deficient countries that adopt IFRS, International Financial Reporting Standards. And they often quote United States of America as an example where the adoption remains illusion. I'd like to ask you, what will be your reaction to this allegation? And what is the current state of, though you mentioned part of it, the current state of adoption of IFRS generally and specifically in Nigeria?
I want to categorically state that that statement is not true, it's not correct. It's not only capital deficient countries or jurisdictions that have adopted IFRS. Um, Globally, about 156 countries or jurisdictions have adopted the International Financial Reporting Standards. Okay, I
Good.
can also tell you that um, among the G20 countries, 15 of them have fully adopted IFRS.
Wow.
The remaining five that have not fully adopted them. I would say that there have been some level of adoption. Take, for example, the case of Japan. Japan has allows for voluntary adoption of IFRS by corporate entities in Japan. So it has not made it mandatory, but it has allowed for voluntary um, implementation.
Mm,
The case of China, the case of India, the case of Indonesia, what they've done is they've taken IFRS and modified it to suit their local environment.
mm,
So it's not that they've not adopted IFRS, they've adopted it, but they've modified it to suit their local environment. They didn't adopt it um, wholly.
mm,
Then the last one among the G20 is the USA. Okay, yes, USA, the United States of America, they've not adopted IFRS. They're still operating their gap. But 2 points that you need to note about the USA is the fact that their gap, their local gap, is even more stringent than IFRS.
mm,
So they feel that why should they come down and lower themselves to IFRS level when their own is already more stringent than the IFRS as it is today.
mm,
That is the first one. Then secondly, even USA, they've allowed or permitted foreign security issuers. So if you have an entity that wants to issue some foreign security in the USA, they've allowed it. They're allowing it to submit IFRS compliant financial statements. Okay, so by and
mm.
large, I don't think that statement is correct. It's totally wrong, and I think in Nigeria we're in the right direction. We're one of those that early adopted IFRS since 2012, and I think, as I said earlier, the implementation has been fantastic so far.
Awesome point. And thank you for helping us to rest those alleged, those alleged, and I like also the statistics of those who have and are adopting one, and secondly, even United States of America operating higher on a standard, and they are also adopting this. Thank you very much, Ambassador, for putting that to rest. And though you may have mentioned it in passing, I thought you did. When I know that you are working collaboratively with ICAN to streamline a few things, I know the IFRS Foundation, which is like every other non for a profit making organization, they run its affairs by committees for proper representation. And like we always say, for high quality issuance of IFRS. Are Nigerians part of these committees? And if not, how can Nigerians participate in some of these committees for good representation and voice?
Yes, you are right that both the ISB and the IFRS Foundation, they operate through committees, and I would say that Nigeria has not been quite active in those participatory participation in those committees of both the ISB and also the IFRS Foundation. But that is not to say um, that Nigeria is not getting the opportunity. What happens is that when they want to set up these committees, they normally advertise and seek for nominations.
Mm,
So it's not only for regulatory institutions that will send nominations, but private individuals are free to also send in their nominations, and then they will do an assessment, and then it's very competitive. So they go through some selection process, and then finally select those that they think that fit in. So one of the reasons why Nigeria has a low um, participation in those committees, one is the fact that um, we have very little um, number of Nigerians actually applying on sending their nomination to participate in those committees. Okay, that is one, and this is one of the areas that FRC we're trying to address. We've had discussions in the last couple of months, both with the IASB and also the IFRS Foundation, that going forward, they need to also send to us those adverts for those vacancies, and that once we get it, we'll now be able to give it very wide circulation across the country, um, so that interested, qualified accountants can then apply. We've also decided to do within the FRC also to encourage our staff within the FRC to also apply for those committee positions. Uh, Recently, I think last month, one of my directors, Dr. Ayara, um, was accepted as a technical advisor on the International Public Sector Accounting Standards Board. Um, we've also sent in a nomination for the um, inaugural members for the newly created International Sustainability Standards Board that I mentioned earlier. Uh, they're asking for nomination for the initial members of the board. We've also sent in a few nominations to that effect. So by and large, you'll be able to see quite a bit of more push, both from the FRC and I'm sure in liaison with ICAN and the other professional accounting organizations, we'll try to encourage qualified Nigerians to submit their nomination for some of these um, committee memberships that may come up in the near future.
Excellent point. And you can be sure, dear Ambassador, ICAN on Air will be the first to raise its hands to help us publicize more and more. And a lot of our members are listening, home and abroad. We'll make sure we do that. Well done, and thank you very much, Ambassador Ahmed. But you see, one of the presupposed setbacks of the International Financial Reporting Standards is the frequent changes. What in some aspect of management accounting, talk about change management. There are updates, there are newly issued standards, and many accountants may be finding it a bit difficult to cope with these numerous changes. How can professional accountants cope with these changes, and what would be your advice to them?
I totally agree with you, Akin, that we're having quite a number of frequent changes to some of these issued standards, IFRS standards. And I think quite a lot of accountants and practitioners are getting lost with some of these frequent changes. But some of these changes necessitated by the continuous changing um, global economic situations. New um, investment products are coming out, new issues are emerging, and the FRS Foundation feels they need to continuously fill that gap to address some of these emerging issues. So it's not something that's going to stop. It's going to continue. Accountants should expect that to continue. Um, and so my advice to them is that they should try as much as possible to continue to train and train and train themselves. Most of the time, when some of these changes come up, you find that either ICANN itself or FRC or some other institution will organize some kind of training and sensitization program. So I would like to encourage and advise my colleagues to always try and join and attend some of these training programs. Secondly, we in FRC now, we've now decided to establish what we call Financial Reporting and Corporate Governance Lab. Um, um, that lab, basically, what it will do is that um, any institution or any professional that feels that he has some um, gray area of understanding in terms of either the existing IFRS or the existing modifications that might come up in the future, then he's free to approach us in that lab on a one-on-one further discussion and also of, enlightenment on
Mm.
what those changes entail. So
Mm.
very soon we'll announce the establishment of that lab, and we'll encourage our professional colleagues to make use of that lab when it's created.
Awesome points to learn from the issue of the lab to breaking down some of the prejudices in some of the questions we have concerning the standards. And above all, to say that this far, Nigeria ranks tops within the Committee of Nations in the African continent when it comes to standard settings and then moving towards. And if you are just joining us, I have been fielding questions to our Ambassador Ahmed, one of our DOIs that we are very proud of, being an ambassador plenipotentiary and attached, serve with distinctions. We'll be looking at the Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria and the Nigeria Accountant. Please, if you have questions, feel free to type them in. The ambassador will be more than ready to just take this. And so, Ambassador, we continue. Now, the Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria in the year 2020 issued an audit regulation. Uh, I'll take this because I know a lot of my auditor friends hope and in diaspora who will be listening. Please give us an insight into the trust of these regulations.
Thank you so much, Akin. Yes, as you rightly said, the Financial Reporting Council in 2021 issued the Audit Regulation 2020, and it was supposed to come into effect almost immediately, but FRC, as an institution that values um, the voice of its various stakeholders, um, made a case to the government that the audit regulation should be deferred for implementation to 1st January 2022, that is early this year, so that we can have enough time for our various stakeholders to get prepared for the full implementation of the audit regulation. That was graciously given. And so, yes, it came into force in 2020, but actually the full implementation is just starting from January this year. And
I see.
basically, yeah, but basically,
And
yeah, what the audit regulation um, it intends to actually do is to push or to ensure or to improve on the quality of the audit reports and the auditing process, to strengthen the role of the audit committees in the various entities that we have, and also as well as to further strengthen the internal audit function.
mm,
For example, in the audit regulation 2020, it now provides a framework for the for audit quality review. So FRC is now saddled with the responsibility of moving in to review um, the quality of the auditing process, by audit firms, um, and also to sanction infractions that may arise from that audit, both against the firm and also as against the individual auditors. And as I said, also the regulation strengthens the internal audit function because it provides for now that the internal auditor must be a member of the senior management team of any entity. It also provides that he can only be removed by the board and not by management. So it has really empowered the internal auditors to carry out their functions in a more um, transparent, in a more protective way. These are some of the features of the audit regulations that came into being. One last thing is that it also requires that auditors and audit firms must register with the Financial Reporting Council. So the expectation is that very soon FIC will issue the registration guidelines, and individual auditors will have to register with the FRC, and then also the firms, the audit firms themselves will have to register with the FRC.
Mm, mm. Thank you very much for giving us those impacts. And let me thank Samuel Olumide, who has joined me to thank you, your ambassador, and is asking this question: that is integrated reporting under the purview of the Financial Reporting Council?
Yes, it's true. The integrated reporting is part of it's under the purview of the Financial Reporting Council. Because, as I said at the beginning of this discussion, that
Mm,
anything to do with financial reporting comes under the purview of the Financial Reporting Council. And
mm,
therefore, if you say integrated reporting, of course, it encompasses not only financial reporting, but it also encompasses other aspects of reporting relating to the environment, to social, to governance. And so, by and large, it comes under the purview of the Financial Reporting Council.
mm. Fantastic, fantastic point. And we do take a little bit of a breather. And thank you for our online participants. Have more questions? Please keep them coming in. We take a bit of a breather now. Take a little break. Don't go away. We are going to be back firing. Okay, fielding additional questions to our ambassador plenipotentiary and at large. We'll be back with you. Thank you for staying on for close to about 30, 35 minutes. I have been fielding questions to our professional colleague, Ambassador Shuaibu Ahmed, the Executive Secretary, Financial Reporting Council. I'll be looking at the Financial Reporting Council, broken down a few myths, He's put things in perspective. And he has also told us that continuous education, continuous improvement, since knowledge and lack of it is not going to be an excuse, he has encouraged that more and more of us should approach and put in nominations into committee membership. My friends in some other professions who look at accountants with a bit of a swagger say, why do you swagger in ICAN? And I say, yeah, we swagger because we have knowledge. And we're going to open that space to other professionals. Nice to hear that. Now, Ambassador, welcome back.
Thank you.
The Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria's Enabling Act requires it to engage in practice monitoring. Now, does this regulatory mandate appear to be in cooler? And if so, why so? And is the Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria considering a partnership with professional accountants organizations in the country to deliver on this mandate?
Thank you once again, Akin. Um, as you rightly pointed out, yes, the Financial Reporting Council Act enjoins the Financial Reporting Council to undertake practice monitoring of audit firms just to ensure the quality of the audit work being carried out. But in the past, the FRC has not been active in that area. And it's not for the lack of the fact that we know it's part of one of our core responsibilities, but it was more because there was no um, enabling framework for us to undertake that particular function. And that is the reason why the FIC pushed and pushed and pushed for the audit regulation to be um, um, released by the government, because the audit regulation has now given us a framework for that practice monitoring. It has clearly defined the way we should go about it, when we should go for those practice monitoring, which size of audit firms should we undertake for that practice monitoring, the frequency of that practice monitoring should be on a yearly basis or have 2 years or 3 years. All that has now been defined clearly in the audit regulation. And therefore, I think you should expect, and my professional colleagues should expect that the FRC will begin this aspect of practice monitoring from this year. Maybe by mid this year, we will commence that aspect of our mandate. On the second part of the question you mentioned, um, as to whether we intend to um, engage the professional accounting organizations to support us in that aspect. Yes, I can confirm to you that yes, FIC will do that, because FIC as it is today, we don't have the required resources, both in terms of human and financial, to say we're going to cover all those large number of audit firms that we have in the country. So the um, thinking right now is that FIC will focus more on the public interest entities. So FIC will undertake practice monitoring for the public interest entities, which are those big listed companies, and that the other um, audit relating to the medium and small farms. That's why we'll solicit and engage the support and cooperation of the professional accounting organizations to support us in undertaking those practice monitoring
Excellent.
relating to those entities. And what we have done is we have drafted what we call an instrument of delegation. That is, the FIC have drafted that, and we have shared with the two professional accounting organizations, that's ICAN and ANAN. And we expect that in the next couple of weeks, we should be able to sign off on that instrument of delegation. And once that is done, then it's a major step towards the commencement of the practice review.
Excellent. Awesome. Nice to hear. Ambassador, lucid, made it clear. But you know that the Nigerian Code of Corporate Governance requires persons charged with governance in the entities that you mentioned to comply and explain. Comply and explain rather than comply or explain. What is the rationale behind this? And how do you assess the extent of compliance with the code?
Okay, I can actually what the code says. It's apply and explain,
Okay,
not
apply
comply.
and explain.
Apply
Okay,
and explain. Yeah, well. And
thank you.
yeah. So if you look at the code is principles based. So it has 28 principles,
Hmm.
but it has 247 recommendations.
Go well.
Okay, and these recommendations are spread across those 28 principles.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
when we say apply, the expectation of FRC is that you must apply those 28 principles. Okay, but in terms of those recommendations, it's not mandatory for you to apply those recommendations. That's why they're called recommendations anyway. It's
All
for
right.
you now, yeah, to apply them in the way that it will suit your own organization.
Hmm.
Okay,
Hmm.
and the process. That's the reason why we want the explanation. So
Okay.
you apply the principles. That one is compulsory. But in terms of those recommendations, then you are free to choose any of those recommendations or to even modify those recommendations. And that is the reason
And give
why
you and give you explanation. Okay.
explanation yes as to why you which
Super.
one you selected or which one you modify. That is the reason
Fantastic
why
point.
we have it that way. Yeah, in other jurisdictions, that's just like you mentioned, they have comply or explain, which means you
Okay.
either comply. If you don't comply, explain why you are not complying. In other
Mhm.
ones, you have comply and explain. We
All
comply
right.
and explain. So it varies, but in Nigeria, it's apply and
And
explain.
explain. Excellent.
Explain. Yes.
Excellent.
And
Thank you
then
very much.
you also um, asked me um, in terms of level of compliance.
Oh yeah.
Uh, yeah, with the MCCG 2018. I
Mm.
will largely say that for us at FRC, we're quite happy with the level of compliance. A lot
Beautiful.
of entities, especially listed entities, are filing their corporate governance reports with us. And um, actually, the even though the code was done in 2018, but the mandatory filing started from 2020.
Super.
So, so we've only had about 2 years of full implementation. So it's now that FRC is now um, planning to undertake a post-implementation review of the
Mm.
code to see
Mm.
how far how have we fared in terms of implementation. And we are also cooperating with the primary regulators in that respect. We are also working, collaborating with Nigeria NGX, the
Mm.
Nigerian Exchange. We are
Mm.
also collaborating with the Institute of Directors,
Mm.
IOD,
Mm.
in that respect, just to now undertake that post-implementation review
Mm.
of the implementation of the NCCG 2018. And
Super.
I can just before I finish on that, the NCCG 2018 is only for the private sector, and our
Yeah.
mandate in FIC covers both private and public
Private
sector.
and public. Yeah.
Yeah. So what the FIC is now working on is to also commence the process of developing a code of corporate governance for the public sector as well as not-for-profit sector. Okay.
Super.
Yeah, and the reason why we're doing that is because the public sector is the largest player in the Nigerian economy. So we cannot afford to say, we're just going to keep focusing on the private sector, ignoring what is happening in the public sector. And therefore, in the next few months, hopefully, you should see us. We are going to form a technical working group that will help us develop those two codes, one for the public sector and one for the not-for-profit.
Fantastic. Thank you very much because time will always be a limiting factor. I'd like to just ask you this. Uh, are you worried about the recent spate of scandals involving professional accountancy firms in the UK? Well, I'm asking because in 2021, almost all the major firms had issues with FRC in the UK. What lessons can we learn? Just very briefly.
Yes, I can tell you that yes, we in FRC were quite worried. It's true that virtually all the major or big four firms were found wanting in the UK in 2021. But we look at it both from the positive and the negative side. The negative side, of course, is the worry that if that is coming from the big four firms, then what is happening with the medium and small firms? Uh, but the positive side is the fact that the FRC UK, which is a regulatory arm, was able to detect some of those infractions or some of those irregularities. So it further instills quite a lot of confidence in the investing public that yes, at least you have a regulator who is doing its job. The
Right.
second point, of course, it's a lesson, both for us as regulators in Nigeria, that we need to be more vigilant, we need to be more effective in discharge of our mandate, and also a lesson for the auditors that it's quite possible for some of these infractions to be detected by the regulator. And once that is done, that the regulator will come down heavy on the audit firms as well as the engagement partners responsible for those audits.
Very, very good point. And because, like I said, because time is not on our hand, we need to just quickly round up. May we have your last word on this subject of Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria, what you've done and the Nigerian accountants?
Well, I'll just say that I would like to encourage my colleagues in the accounting profession to register with the Financial Reporting Council. It's quite important, even though maybe today might not be under its radar. Probably I'm not a CFO, or, that kind of thing. But you never know tomorrow. So the earlier that is done, the better. Secondly, on a final note, I want to really commend the president of our great institute for this initiative of ICAN on Air. It's quite enlightening to us in the profession. The kind of caliber of resource persons you are bringing on board clearly clarifies quite a lot of issues that might be worrisome to us. And I want to, in particularly, also commend you, Akin. Akin, you're a terrific person. We're quite enjoying your program. We must commend you and your team for the excellent, excellent work you're doing for the profession. We thank you and may God continue to bless you.
Thank you very much. I like to say, Ambassador, the tip of the iceberg is what we are seeing. I have a solid team, our editorial team, pushing, pulling, making sure we are able to deliver. I'd like to thank you very much. And we are going to be calling on you as our ambassador plenipotentiary and at large, with that sash that I know young accountants and enterprising accountants will continue to see that with ICAN, not just accuracy, integrity is what we trade in. Thank you very much. And online participants, thank you very much. We'd like to also say to you that our next episode is going to be on Thursday, February 17, 2022. The venue will still be online on our social media platforms, the Facebook, the YouTube, the Twitter. Log on and please make a point to tell someone to also tell somebody else to tune in. And the topic we are going to be looking at is transforming the Nigerian economic structure. The productivity question. I will be guessing BC Sonda, BSc, FCA, Mr. BC Sonda is economic and management consultant and a former partner leader of transactional advisory services of Ernst and Young West Africa. That he was between 2006 and 2016. He comes with a good understanding of the entire enterprise of finance, human capital, marketing, operations, spanning manufacturing, shipping, aviation, banking, hospitality, public sector, and professional services. Currently, he is the executive director of Shelter Afrique, based in Kenya, amongst others. A recipient of the Ibadan Merit Award, which is the highest honor in Ibadan land. You don't want to miss that. Let me leave you with this quote. I call it the rule 3. If you read a company's financial statements 3 times and you still can't figure out how they make their money, that is usually for a reason that is attributable to James Chanos. Well, I always say, be the change you like to see. And I like to also just quickly make this announcement that the next one is coming up very soon in October. The Southwest Zonal Conference is going on between 14th to 17th of February. And for the 51st AAC, Annual Accountants Conference, those who appeared online, we are going to be publishing and talking more a little bit how you can collect your materials which are ready from your district, from the ICAN office, the Butemeta, and any other ICAN office near you. Be the change you like to see. Until come your way again, I remain Akin Fatunke, your anchor. ICAN on air. Bye for now.